Thank you very much. I think we're running a bit late, so I will try to make it a bit shorter today. So I will not be presenting the whole package because it's quite big. I will just try to do a very quick overall presentation of the HDS, and then try to focus a bit more on the impact also with real-world evidence. Okay, so the EHDS, I mean, as said, was released this month. It's quite a fresh and quite new proposal, and basically it's made of two parts. One part is related to the primary use of health data, electronic health data, and the second part is related to the secondary use of health data. And this is a package actually which has some coherence because both of them can affect each other in some specific way, and maybe also for real world evidence, it actually can be of use. What basically is trying to do is trying to improve and to facilitate the use and the reuse of electronic health data. Because during the analysis we did before making this proposal, we realized that there's a lot of barriers and grinding between these different elements, and it can be quite challenging. I mean, there's also an element, for example, related to interoperability, and that's something which is being addressed, especially for primary use. There's an element of cross-border healthcare also, which is need to be addressed. So that's also something. And basically, overall, the HTA trying to complement the more transversal legal frameworks that already exist or is being developed, which means that it's trying to complement some of the right that you already have with the GDPR. It's trying to provide sectoral element in relationship to the more transversal element provided by the Data Act and the Data Governance Act. So it's the first sectoral legislation focusing on health data and the specificity of the health data economy. So that's the first thing. The second thing also is trying to provide an infrastructure to develop and to make this possible. So you have to create the development and also for some funds for the development of My Health at EU for primary use and of Health Data at EU for secondary use, which are basically some of the framework that are going to be used in order to help developing and improving the flow of data. I will, if necessary, I can provide a link to the Commission page on all these elements in the chat at a later stage. So for real world evidence, what does it mean? How does it impact? I mean, this is really mostly for secondary use. I think it's more like, how can we reuse the data that's already there? And the first interesting element, of course, is with primary use, they're going to be better quality. Hopefully, we're expecting better quality health data and better interoperable health data. And this hopefully will help researchers to have access to better quality data for their research. So this is going to be an interesting element. The second thing is, of course, we're talking about genetic data and things like that. So genetic data and this kind of data are included in type of data that can be reused. So you have a wide range of data that can be reused and for specific purpose that actually listed in the EHDS. There's also some purpose that are prohibited, especially, for example, harmful purpose, or if you want to, insurance company want to raise the insurance premium and discriminate on people, that will definitely be against the rule. So it's not going to be an open bar system. There are going to be some safeguards, there are going to be some limitation on how you can actually use the health data. But definitely we hope it's going to really improve how it can be done, especially because it's actually going to provide a common EU framework to how this can be done. So if you are a Belgian researcher, you would normally go to the Belgium Health Data Access Body and say, I want to have access to data, real world data from Belgium, France, Germany. And you only need to do one request, and then the request will be provided to all the other countries, and they will provide an answer. So it's not anymore a matter of knowing what the particularities of what is in Belgium or in Germany or in France. It's really trying to have a more common system. On top of that, I mean, the EHDS will actually provide a EU database system where basically the researcher would be able to check what data are available. Because it's one thing to be able to use the data, it's another, which is important, like with Google, is to know where the data is, what data is available, and what kind of quality of data is available. And if you do not know that, basically this data is not going to be really accessible for you. So these are some of the elements. Of course, there are safeguards, which mean that the safeguard mean that you're going to have to use the data. You're not going to be transfer the data directly to yourself. You're going to have to use a secure processing space. So which means that there is a space being going to be set up where all the data you're asking for, with some of the tools you're asking for to use them, will be put in. And the only element that you will be able to extract out of it will be anonymous element. So there are some limitations, but we also believe that there are some practical facility that actually will assist the use on real-world evidence. I want to mention, and Dr. De Kock already mentioned it, the EMMA with the Darwin project, it's quite a nice example of what can be achieved with that, where basically you have EMMA who can have access to real-world evidence, to have easy access to real-world evidence, in order to better monitor the vaccine, the drugs, and how they are working in real life in the population. And this is some of the interesting example of how things could actually work in practice.